instantaneously when that happens. So if you live along a tectonic plate edge, be very careful. Consider not staying there too long. That's what's going on.
Now, have you heard of Paul LaViolette?
I heard the name. I don't know all the information.
Well, he talks about a super wave. He talks about a periodic wave that comes from the center of the galaxy, sort of like a volcanic eruption from, I guess, a black hole within a black hole that sends out these kinds of super wave effects that could be like what you're talking about in terms of ELM waves.
Well, what's happening on the Earth now is being artificially enhanced. It's not a natural thing.
So you don't think that there's actually a natural transition that this planet is going through at all in terms of moving into another level or ascension in terms of that kind of evolution?
Carrie, all I can tell you is that's New Age stuff. It has no basis in reality. I've heard this for 40 years already, and no one's moved anywhere except backwards as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, but as far as because we're Camelot, and so you have to understand that what we do is, as investigative reporters, we go out and we find researchers, experiencers, and whistleblowers from Black projects who have certain things to tell us. And then we basically publish it in videos. And just like you, all of those people have views of themselves in the future and so on. Now, I understand that you have a point of view, and that's great. So that's what I'm trying to find out about. But the reason I'm running these things by you is not because they are my personal beliefs, but because this is what's out there, and people listening really need some help in weeding through all of this. So I think it would be very valuable if you could, sort of address some of these notions and why it is you think what you think. In other words, you were involved in Montauk. You were certainly programmed yourself. And I understand you've gone through deprogramming. So you have to be successful to a certain level, but even as a thinking individual, you know that programming, in other words, how do you know how much programming you have gotten beyond? How much of what you think right now is influenced by your programming and so on?
Well, I understand all that, and I realize that what I tell people may not agree with what they believe. And I also know that a lot of what I say does not agree at all with much of the New Age information, but I do know that the New Age was started by the U.S. government in 1965 in order to lay the foundation for what's coming now. And everything that I was shown and told back then in the 1970s and 80s is coming true point by point by point. All of these stories, all of this information is being propagated in the public to create a foundation upon which they can build this new world religion and new world order in the so-called end times. A case in point, a blatant example is just this past week when the story broke that the Turkish and Chinese evangelists found the Noah's Ark 12,000 feet in Mount Ararat, which is a bunch of malarkey. It's just simply not true. They even had pictures showing them enter the caverns of the ark, and there was cobwebs and hay, like Noah just didn't clean up when he was done. It was like a whole staged event. And how many fundamentalist Christians or anyone out there is going to believe this story when it's all not true? They create scenarios. And, in the last year, especially last year, almost every week there is some story from Jerusalem or Rome or somewhere in the Middle East that actually so-called verifies a biblical story and makes the Bible look like it's true, when in fact the Bible is a symbolic work or an allegory for something else. And I would encourage people.
That's great. And I have no problem with that personally. But what would you say the Bible is a symbolic work, and what was its purpose?
Well, if anyone reads the Bible code books, they will know that the Bible is completely encoded and can only be deciphered via computer. And so
Yes.
and so that was obviously from some other civilization. It didn't come from here. And in fact, in the Bible code, it says when you go through the codes that only via computer could this be understood. And of course, the word computer didn't exist when this was written, supposedly.
Yes.
So,
Well, I have read those books myself, and it's very persuasive. But in terms of, in other words, there is a scenario for the planet and for humanity. And I'm just curious, since most of what you're talking about, and certainly this is known by various investigators, that of course the New Age was created in the think tanks and so on, and then pushed out there through mind control, etc. But there, aside from that, humanity has a story, and you must have had interactions with ETs, with whatever you want to call them, extra-dimensionals, maybe even what you consider to be spirits or whatever. What information have they given you of the path of humanity that does make any sense to you and that you feel might be authentic?
Well, basically, what I learned, and not just from those incidences, but also from government records that is not in the public, I learned that this planet is actually not native to humanity. We didn't develop here. We were brought here and created here many centuries, thousands and thousands of years ago. And the purpose of it was really to create a race that was a mixture between reptilian and mammalian in order to colonize this world and incorporate it into the Draconian Empire. Now, that plan has somehow been diverted by our current Illuminati, who intend to break away from that plan and create their own global and even galactic empire based on the Earth and dissociate from the Draconian Empire. And so we're going through all of these scenarios in order to create a vast population that is completely mind-controlled, believes only one thing. Each person has their own specific function. They do what they're told. They take their drugs. They take the polluted and contaminated food that just enhance their mind control and programming. The plan is for human beings to become cyborgs, living robots that are programmed to do what they're told to do so that the Illuminati civilization can continue without any deviation. Now,
okay. Now this is similar to some information we've gotten from some of our whistleblowers, and what I'm curious about, though, is one area where you're diverging is in terms of calling it that the Illuminati are departing from the Draconian Empire, when in fact my understanding is that that's what they were putting into effect.
Well, the pure reptilians, the 100% pure reptilians, are very much against what the Illuminati are doing, because the reptilian plan is not being fulfilled. In fact, this planet is supposed to be pulled in or assimilated to the reptilian empire and the Draco system. However, the Illuminati are trying to create their own empire and break away, and that is why we find a lot of reptilian attacks, if you will, especially from underground. You know, when Lemuria sank eons ago, the reptilians went into the inner earth. And what we're seeing these days, all these mining accidents and explosions, all these things going on, is really there's a war going on underneath the ground between the reptilians and the Illuminati and their soldiers. In fact, I had a contact in the U.S. Army a few years ago who told me that he was sent to a location in the Deep South where there were cave systems where the reptilians were seen coming out, and their orders were to shoot them or to kill them. So there has been a schism, if you will, between the Illuminati and the purebred reptilians. That's also what happened with the Nazis, because the Nazis were originally controlled by the reptilians, and then they kind of broke away to start their own empire, and then they were destroyed. But the Fourth Reich did survive and is in Antarctica and even have a base on the moon, which I have a photograph taken by a NASA vehicle of a swastika-shaped base on the dark side, and a crater on the dark side of the moon. And there's a lot going on in space that is not being told to us. And I believe that there is another force out there, and many of your listeners may know. I've spoken the last year and a half about the Kuiper's Belt that goes beyond Neptune and Pluto, that region of space around our solar system, which about 3 years ago, on CNN, BBC, all the news services reported that these objects were suddenly appearing in the Kuiper's Belt, one after another. In fact, almost every day there was a report of one or more vehicles there, or objects, I should say. And then it became so disconcerting and obvious that people were questioning, well, what are those things out there? And if you recall, that is when they said, well, Pluto is part of that, and so Pluto's no longer a planet, it's something else from the Kuiper's Belt. And to this day, we still don't know what the classification of Pluto finally turned out to be. I don't think there really is one at this point. My point being that there is something amassing in the Kuiper's Belt that is not part of the Illuminati and not part of Draco Empire. It's something else. And that seems to be frightening to the Illuminati, who are speeding up their agenda and doing things perhaps haphazardly in order to gain control on this planet. So my feeling is they have created enough of a problem here to attract the attention of beings elsewhere who may not necessarily have our best interest in mind, but are concerned about their own well-being and maybe are here to stop what's going on. So there's a lot of dynamics now on this planet and beyond. It gets to be very complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. So you're aware of obviously you're aware of the secret space program. You're aware of the Draco bases, but you're also aware of some kind of schism within between the Illuminati and a certain faction of the Draco. Now, are you talking about? I think they're sometimes called the Shakar. They're the winged Draco.
Oh yes, the white winged ones with the blue eyes.
Okay, and those would be from the well, sometimes they're called the royalty, but
yeah, the elite. They're the elite.
And do you consider those to be the pure reptilian?
Well, let's say those would be the rulers of the races, if you will. The Draco Empire, has 7 different species within its hierarchy, and they really don't mix together. Each one has their own layer of functioning and importance. But these
can you name those 7 species?
Well, there's the elite ones. There's the warrior class. There is the spiritual leaders. There's the common workers. There are the drones. Basically, you can correlate it to the Hindu caste system.
Yes, absolutely.
Times based on that, you see.
Yeah.
So the Brahmin would be the white-winged ones, and the untouchables would be the common workers, if you will.
Okay, and from your point of view, where do the Andromedans and also the Pleiadians and other ET races fit in?
Oh, big question there. I've written in my books, and I've made many statements that much of the information regarding the Pleiadians is really not correct. That is mostly mind control programming that the government created back in the 60s because they felt that would be a good way to get the so-called channeled information to the public and skewer certain belief systems. The Pleiades star system is younger than our own star system, so no life developed there naturally. I do know from the history that I learned that the Pleiadian civilizations, and there's more than one because it's a star system with many stars and many planets, So when you say Pleiadian, what do you mean? Because that's like saying a European. Well, is it Dutch or Swedish or Russian or Portuguese?
Sure.
There's all different kinds. So when you say Pleiadian, it's a huge star system complex with many
Yep.
planets.